But wireframes, if you don't know, are they're kind of the basic outline. They are what's used for identifying hierarchy and priority of elements that exist on a page. You're probably not going to do a wireframe if you haven't already done some sort of a sitemap or a task flow to identify kind of what your content needs are in different areas. These are really good. Wireframes are really good for identifying even, proofs of concept. They're largely black and white and grayscale. Maybe you'll put an image in at some point in time for somebody. Now, the interesting thing about wireframes is, and I preach this, I guess is a good word, and a lot of folks is that wireframes are a means to an end. Your first step should really be sitting down and doing some sketching. If you've got an idea and you want to sit down in front of your tool and stare at it blankly for a few hours, have at it. But if you want to save a lot of time and start exploring, sit down and doing some sketching. And by the way, I've got this book handy, so I'm going to hold up and show you some examples because
awesome.
It's easier. So here's some really bad sketches that I've done.
Yeah.
And what this should prove to you and anybody else watching is that you don't have to be an artist to sketch. In fact, Dave Gray's got a great visual language out there. And since you're here, can I show you something on a whiteboard?
You bet. Yeah. You're going to bring us to the whiteboard. Awesome. Yeah.
Why not? I wasn't entirely prepared for this, but it makes a lot of sense in that when sometimes when I do some workshops in talking about usability testing and stuff, some of the things that I tell people are if you can draw a few things, you can pretty much sketch anything. Can you see that? That's a square, a line, a triangle, and a circle. So if you do something like this with an X through it, that's pretty common to be recognized as an image. If you do something like this, 4 lines in a row, that's pretty simple for somebody to understand that this is text. This and this combined, an arrow, this can easily be a button. If you want to get a little crazy, this can be Luke Wroblewski. But those are really the core elements that you need. There's a handful more that people use in their visual design language to help people when they sketch. But the idea for sketching in general is to get ideas out on the paper. In fact, as I've worked with Todd Zaki-Warfel over the years, one of the things that we pitch, and we just talked about this at South by Southwest with a thing called a boot camp for a UX team of none, if you have no UX people, the 6-8-5 method, which is to try to sketch 6 to 8 ideas in 5 minutes and get those ideas out. And the general notion of this is something that Bill Buxton talks about in his workbook for sketching, is that you get a whole bunch of ideas out and it kind of goes like this. And then when you've kind of exhausted that, you start to winnow those down and focus in on kind of your final handful of sketches.
Right.
And the nice thing about sketches is you can do a bunch of those and you can walk down the hallway, you can go out into the street. I had people out in Portugal walking around with bags of candy testing handheld sketched wireframes. And then when you do that, you can sit down on your tool and have a pretty clear direction. And the good thing about that is things will still change again. It's a kind of an iterative process, and you're going to learn more and explore more as you start to get into the tool. Once you get into wireframes, you're getting pretty granular. You're probably using real content, hopefully using real content. And that's something that's going to help kind of bring your wireframes and those sketches to life to put it in front of a client.
And being able to just sketch things out, brainstorm, try a lot of ideas, let the best ones win, and don't worry about artistic skills. And if I can encapsulate your entire approach, it's play. Have a good time with this, do a lot of good work, and see what bubbles to the top as a good idea.
I showed you my sad, pathetic sketches before. Still sad and pathetic. But then I moved into a tool called Balsamic, and if you can see what the wireframes kind of looked like, that's kind of cool. And you can see that even though I did these kind of really ugly sketches, what the wireframe did is it got in a little more detail and finesse about what was going on. Well, the next step to this was I worked with a visual designer who took and made these very pretty. And you can see these either on slideshare.net/runger or in the Right Way to Wireframe video. You can see these in full color. The important thing to note here is that wireframes are part of the process. In general, I work very collaboratively with visual designers and developers and even my clients to make sure that what I've put together carries weight downstream.